Okay guys, we're going to work on doing the front brakes on this minivan. So the first thing we have to do is we're going to have to remove the caliper itself. So I already took the tire off, obviously. So there's 2 bolts that hold on the caliper. So I already loosened those up. So now that I have those loose, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a flathead screwdriver and I'm going to stick it in this slot. And if I can get a good spot. There we go. I'm just going to try pry the caliper towards me a little bit. And it just loosens up the caliper, so now I can take it off. And this one here is actually a 2-piston caliper, as opposed to the rear was only a single piston caliper. Sometimes you can actually even get a 4-piston caliper where it squeezes on both sides, and the caliper doesn't have to slide then. That's a better setup. Same thing, we want to make sure we set the caliper up so it doesn't fall off. This one here is going to be a little bit different because the brakes aren't actually bad on this one. Take out these little springs. So I must have changed these brakes, I don't know, within a year or so. There's still plenty of brake pad left on here, but the rotors are shot. So when I step on the brake, I get some funny feelings out of the brakes. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pull off the rotor, and I'll show you why I'm getting some funny feelings. Alright, so there's the caliper mounting bracket came off. We're going to check this here. I'm probably going to take this off and sandblast for the brake pads contact and make sure that these slides work properly. Next thing I'm going to try to get off is the rotor. Let's make sure this doesn't fall. Alright, and here comes our rotor. And the biggest thing I think is going to make a difference about the way you don't have to purchase something like this, but I purchased painted rotors, and I think the best thing about it is look at all this rust on the back here. I think the brakes just went bad here just because they got all rusty and rotten. So now with the painted surface on there, it should hold back a lot of this rust. I mean, not forever, but for longer, and you should get a longer life out of your brakes than we're accustomed to up here in the north. Again, if you live down south where they don't salt the roads, like, you don't have any of these problems that we do up here. So now I'm just going to go ahead and make sure it's kind of cleaned off a little bit just from the rust. That's all right. And now we have the new painted rotor. Again, this should last longer just because of the paint on there, and it should brake better too, because these cooling veins on the other one, the cooling veins are starting to plug up with the rust, where these ones here will stay wide open. It's actually kind of a weird design they got on here. This one's actually, so it might be a little bit more vented than the one I just took off. So I'm going to go ahead and put the new rotor on. Oh, I should probably grease that first before I put it on there. So I had to have smashed that. I'm going to put a little bit of grease around here. So next time I go do this, the rotor won't be stuck to that hub. Awesome. Try not to get any on there, on the rotor itself. Plug it on just so it don't fall off. Okay, let's take the mounting bracket here. I'm going to go ahead and take the clips out. I'm going to take this over to the sandblast. We're going to sandblast those contact points, and I'll be right back. Alright, so now I got the bracket all oh, I missed a spot. I'm gonna throw it back in there for a second. All right, so now I got the mounting bracket sandblasted, so I'm gonna go ahead and maybe before I make a big mess, I'm gonna grease these pins. So I'm gonna pull these out. And these ones actually look very good. These have been greased not too long ago, it looks like. Just add a little extra on the sides of those. I like to put some grease around where the boot seals. Keeps out the water. And put that one back in. And same the other one. Pull this out and grease the side of this one. Alright, so I'm going to grease right here. Grease here. And I'm going to install my little clips. Alright, so I got all the clips installed. I'm going to grease the clips. And now I can go ahead and bolt it onto the car. Alright, so now I have the brake calipers all greased up. I greased right where the pads themselves are going to be riding. I greased the slide pins, make sure they move good. If they don't move properly, you are going to wear out your brakes prematurely. So just make sure, just set this down, make sure I don't have any rust. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and slide this into position. Alright, so this should be good. Alright, so now I have the new brakes. I have to install the squeakers on here. So the squeaker is just this little piece of metal that clicks on. And the purpose of this is when your brakes wear out, it's supposed to be like nails on chalkboard. So when this pad gets too low, this little piece of metal will drag on the rotor and make a bad noise. And it's just like, makes it like idiot proof. So that way, like, oh, there's my brakes are making a bad noise. I'm gonna have to take it to the shop and get it checked out. And that's all that does. Let me go turn the wheel so I can see. Alright, so I can press the caliper, so I pretty much just move those pistons back, so that way there's room to slide back on again. Because these new brake pads are going to be thicker than the worn out ones. And the hard part's going to be is that these springs are going to be doing their job. They're trying to push the brakes away from the rotor, which is awesome, except for the fact that, yep, it just happened. It's going to push them out when I'm trying to put it in by hand. So it's going to be a fight to get this on. Good. Now I just got to get the bolts to the caliper. Alright, so that's good. I did buy new lug nuts for this because somebody used the wrong size socket on this probably, and the right size won't fit on this anymore. It's either that or maybe just enough salt got in there over the years where it's expanded, and it should be a 21, but a 21 won't fit on it anymore because it's got some weird stuff going on. I wonder, I might cut one of these apart and see. It might just be some corrosion might be causing that. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and take the tire. Slug it out. tighten it. And that's it. So the only thing I have to do now is go inside the car, pump those brakes, make sure that all the pistons come out to touch, and the brake job's done. Thanks, guys.